Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Delhi High Court today directed the crisis hit IndiGo to compensate passengers who were stranded at the airports due to the cancellation of thousands of flights, even as it blasted the center for failing to prevent airfares from soaring to 40,000. Calling the situation alarming, a division bench headed by Chief Justice D.K. Upadhyaya said the situation was not just about inconvenience to passengers, but of the broader economic impact. What exactly the bench said, and I'm going to quote, we expect adequate steps will be taken by the Civil Aviation Ministry, DGCA, and IndiGo to compensate passengers who were stranded at the airports at the earliest, the High Court said. Now, the court also pulled up the center for allowing the situation to precipitate and taking action only after the crisis had erupted. And what the court said again, I'm going to quote that if there were a crisis, how can other airlines be permitted to take advantage? How can it go to 35 to 40,000? You allowed the situation to precipitate. This is what the court said. Now, such a situation is not confined to causing inconvenience to the passengers, but also affects the economy of the country. This is what the bench said. Now, to this, the additional Solicitor General, Chetan Sharma, said that strict action must be taken against IndiGo, India's largest airline, which was being taken, and a show cause notice was already served to the carrier. And as we all know, that IndiGo has hit a massive operational collapse. Airfares tripled and, in fact, even quadrupled on some routes. For example, ticket prices for a non Delhi Mumbai flight shot up to 65,460 last week. So the big question is that now, after the High Court has pulled up in IndiGo, it has pulled up the center, the DGCA, can things really change from here? And the show cause notice, can this be enough to avert the aviation chaos, which is so much visible in the face? Joining me this evening is Amit Singh, aviation safety expert. Thank you so much, Amit, for joining. We have Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar, who's a renowned pilot of the country. Thank you so much, Captain Saurabh, for joining. And I'll begin with Amit Singh. The other day also, when you came for the show and we were discussing the steam aviation mess, but today with the High Court pulling up the center, the DGCA and the IndiGo, do you think that things can improve from here on?
Well, things will improve, but at what rate? I don't know, because there has to be a clear understanding of what a refund is and what a compensation is. Refund is defined, the amount you have paid, that is a refund. But compensation is kind of a subjective matter. So either it has to be a bigger discussion. Normally, it should be a passenger's right bill which has to be introduced, wherein the compensation part is addressed. But interim, what kind of compensation will you give? What the campaign I am running, in that I have suggested that a blanket, a fund to be created by IndiGo, and then 75,000, which is equivalent to what is prevalent in Europe. 600 euros is 50, slightly more than that. And for senior citizen, people traveling with infants, children, and other important medical issues, so they should be compensated to about 2 lakhs. So that is the kind of compensation that we are looking at for people putting a value to their time and the work or the commitment that they had, which they could not complete because of the mess that IndiGo has created. So that is the kind of compensation. And again, we have one regulatory aspect and the corporate part, which is the Competition Commission of India, which has to come in and look at the ticket pricing. The ticket pricing, even DGC has to look at it. But what I don't understand is there is a rule 135 which says there has to be transparency in ticket pricing. And every airline, every operator has to publish the fares, either in the newspaper, leading newspaper, or on the website. And if you see those fares, if you open up any airline and open the fare sheet, there's a minimum price and there's a maximum price. And in between, you have various bands. So how can an airline charge beyond the maximum? Because that is what the airline has proposed that this is what we're going to charge, the minimum and the maximum. How can they go beyond that? So there, DGCA has to step in. DGCA is not aware of what's happening. Uh, I opened Indigo's fare sheet and tried to search Delhi Mumbai fares. There is no Delhi Mumbai fare on that. So at least DGCA should be aware that they have not filed a Delhi Mumbai fare. They may have filed with DGCA, but public is not aware. So they're not complying with that Rule 135 requirement, and there's a Air Transport Circular 1 of 2025 by DGCA.
Right.
So
Right.
what is the oversight? So oversight issues are separate, and passengers refunds.
So,
If you see
Amit,
the
what I want to ask you is that this PIL which was filed and Delhi High Court heard the matter today. Of course, there is a show cause notice. The center has been pulled up. How will it change the fundamental flaws which are already there? For example, the total indifference of the DGCA. The very fact that DGCA has compromised on many, many issues. The other day, you only were discussing, and we were discussing it on our show on the federal. So, what about those fundamental issues? And unless you resolve and address these fundamental issues, how can we think of just applying a band-aid and then just moving ahead for the public's sake that, look, we have tried to address the Indigo crisis?
So that's what I'm saying. DGCA's oversight is not there. Now, DGCA, the car says that every operator must have adequate pilots for their operation. So, by making a regulation is not enough. They have to ensure that the car is being complied. And when they're aware of a difficult situation that Indigo is going to face, so why they are not proactive in it? We are all reactive. So DGCA is basically once something happens, then they start doing something. So that is not how safety is handled. So if the way the safety culture is prevalent prevails, then if not this, something else will crop up. So basically, DGCA will not have an eye on what's going to happen. Every year we have fog coming in, rains, delays, and then
Yeah.
the fare spikes. And then after 4 or 5 days, then there is a cap. So why is there such a delay when there is
Yeah.
always a band? So the airlines do not have the fear that if we overcharge, that we will be penalized. So they go ahead with it, knowing very well that the regulator is lax. So that is the basic issue. Even if you have regulations, even if you make more regulations, compensation, it is for the public. They'll have to keep running back and forth to get the amount. So it is not the ease of for the ease of the passenger, but it is for the convenience of the airline that the whole system is devised or tilted towards their convenience, not the passenger's convenience. So it is a
Yeah.
cultural
Yeah.
shift which has to be done.
Yeah. Now, how this cultural shift is going to be possible, nobody knows. But I'll come to you, Captain Saurabh, now that at the end of, I mean, at the center of this storm is the revised crew rest and the duty of the flight duty time limitations, that is FDTTL norms that came into effect from November 1st. Now, the crisis in Indigo was precipitated by the crew shortages as the airline was caught napping on the new norms. In fact, many experts said that this mess was artificially created by Indigo to arm twist the center into withdrawing those FDTL rules. You are also a pilot. You are flying, and you are also on flying hours. What do you feel of this entire crisis? It's almost more than 9 days now, but this crisis continues.
Good evening, Niluji, and good evening, Captain Amit. Now, this is, the crisis of this magnitude doesn't happen overnight. Okay, this is something which was, Indigo knew it has to happen. It was coming, but they failed to take any action, or they deliberately did it by way of, overconfidence, arrogance, being 65% market shareholders, and all these things, saying, to DGCA, you do whatever you want to do or something. It's something called the Meri Marzi. Now, what exactly is this? Is all things started in January 2024 when the new FDTL rules came into existence, and everybody knew that this is going to happen. The FDTL norms are going to kick in. The FDTL, the night landing is going to reduce from 6 to 2. The night hours will be from 12 to 6. Naturally, IndiGo also knew, other airlines knew, and they were supposed to hire extra pilots because otherwise any kind of delay also would precipitate into the night landings, and the pilot will go illegal for that flight. So it's not that the IndiGo did not know. IndiGo very well knew about the strength of the pilots, what they have. They were supposed to hire, and I was told that the requirement was around 900 to 1,000 pilots, but they hired only 430 odd pilots for that. So naturally, it had to come. But it will lead into this kind of cancellations, which is very, very surprising. Yes, I've flown IndiGo 5 years. I was senior captain there. But we all know that IndiGo is a lean frame airline. They work on the minimum crews. Okay, the buffer is very limited. But I am not able to still convince myself that IndiGo did not know that this is going to happen. And with the from the 1st of November, with this night landing rule and 2 landings and this thing coming up or kicking in, they will be running short of the pilot. They will be utilizing their buffer completely, and together with there was no weather. There is absolutely no fog days as of now. The fog even has not even started. It'll happen when something called the western disturbance comes in, and then. So there is no adverse weather. The visibility is absolutely fine. Everything is fine. So they are quoting as adverse weather. There is no air traffic congestion. Every other airline is also facing that congestion. So it is by and large, it is the fault of the IndiGo. And yes, of course, the DGCA has to come in picture because they only approved IndiGo's extra, winter schedule by the 9.6% from the last winter schedule. And 6% from this summer schedule, they have increased the flights. Why didn't the DGC ask, boss, the new rules are going to kick in from 1st of November, or the second phase is going to come in? Where do you have the sufficient pilots to man the aircraft, to man the routes, and to board the slots which you have already got? So there was a completely oversight, and there was not monitoring. That's what I feel that DGCA should have monitored and asked, before giving the clearance to the airline, that you can increase the flight to 9.6. Like the weekly flights is now 15,000, 14 flights is the weekly what they in the present winter schedule they approved, and no pilot. It had to happen, Niluji. It had to happen. But yes, artificially created. Yes, that's another story which is going around. Because IndiGo has got such a lovely software, they always work in advance. They've got a much advanced software for everything: the crew management system, the roster management system, the cabin crew management system, their operation management system. Everything they have a perfect software. They were the first one to introduce, when I was there, as something called a trim sheet right at the doorstep with the ground crew happening, giving the trim sheet to their network system is excellent. Despite all these things, they let it happen, started cancelling in a phased manner from November 1st, the flights. And suddenly, it raises an eyebrows, it raises questions. Because if you see now, 3rd of December has happened, 4th, 5th, 6th are the 3 major auspicious dates for the marriage in month of December. The entire country was in the transformation of people moving from place A to place B on 3rd of December to attend various kinds of marriages. And they cancel these flights all across the airports. Now they're quoting 124 shortage, 65 captains and 59 first officers. Do you think, the 124 shortage of 124 pilots will cause such a large, massive disruptions of the flight? It's unbelievable, right? So it is something especially.
Just allow me to interrupt you because there's something more which the High Court asked the center, and it directed to submit or report on the investigation of the chaos. Now, what did they say? They said that the guidelines were to be implemented in a phased manner. They did not do it. If they are not recruiting an appropriate number of pilots, what actions are you taking? This is what the High Court asked the center. Now, the matter, of course, now is going to be heard again on 22nd January 2026. So, till that time, what, according to you, would be the course of action? I'll come to Amit Singh also later. But, Captain Saurabh, how would you read the situation? That is the crisis now going to continue for some more time? Now, the peak Christmas and New Year season, where people travel a lot, is also going to be there around the corner now.
Yeah, naturally, see, first of all, the government has already constituted an inquiry committee of 4 people. There should be forensic investigation, and there should not be any kind of leniency with the airlines. 65% share doesn't mean that they can do whatever they want. That's one aspect. Number two, about the capping of the fares. This is not the first time the DGCA has stepped in. It happened during the COVID also, when the post-COVID, when the skies were open, there was the fare skyrocketed. So again, the DGCA, and the same rule with Captain Amit had quoted rule number 135, the sub-para 4 says that the DGCA will see, in case there is an extraordinary, the fare hike and all, that gives them the power to step in and cap the fare. Now, this is the time that, they cannot. That's what I feel, that, like it happened in COVID and it was withdrawn in August 2022. Again, now it has been implemented with the maximum to 18,000 feet, starting with 7,500 to 18,000, depending upon the hours of or the distance of the sector. But the thing is, having a permanent thing, a rule, there should be something which is there. But I'm not sure whether this can happen, because the rule itself says give the flexibility to the airline to fix up the fare, because see, it's a demand and supply chain, completes a demand and supply. So the airlines are free to choose their airs or the airfares, but DGCA will step in case they find any extraordinary situation like this. As regard the compensation and what Captain Amit is saying, okay, there is a proper laid down civil aviation requirement. CAR is there, which is, it is a rule which is CAR section 3, series M para 4. It says very clearly the compensation needs to be paid, and it is laid down. It's a legally, it has been laid down depending upon the amount, what is the block time of the flight. If it is within less than 1 hour, it is, cancellation is around 5,000 compensation, and then it goes 7,500 and 10,000. This is, but it's a very, very low amount. Or in case they can issue the one-way ticket to the concerned person who wants to either reschedule the flight, or if he doesn't want to reschedule the flight, apart from the refund, the airline is supposed to pay the compensation as well. It is laid down. I'm not aware whether the airline is doing this, so High Court should ask, and the DGCA should ask the airline whether they are paying the compensation, because I don't think there is rescheduling, because they don't have flight. They've cancelled all the flights. When they've cancelled all the flights, where is the case of rescheduling? So now they should be paid compensation for this, plus the compensation for the baggage which they have kept for the passengers for so long. The passengers should be, these compensations should be paid. But I'm not sure whether DGCA is implementing this CAR. The DGCA is asking the airline, are you implementing this CAR or not? There are a lot of fingers which are being pointed at the DGCA itself, being the regulatory body in the country. They are the one who controls the entire aviation sector. They are the regulatory body. They make sure that all the rules, or all the the cars which are laid down, are properly implemented by the airlines. They haul up for that. They have flight operations inspector. They have a good team of FOIs and SFOIs in the standards directed to implement that. I was just reading, there's another recent, just I think an hour back, they have issued an order. Now they have made a team of 8 people of the deputy CFI and the senior flight operation inspector as FOIs. So they will, every day now, 2 people will go and sit in the IndiGo headquarters at Gurgaon, and they will do all the monitoring of everything and give a report to the DG himself at 6 p.m. in the evening. That's what I just got it on the WhatsApp, this order which has been issued by the DGCA. But the question still remains the same thing. Why DGCA can't on a regular basis monitor, are they shortage of staff? Yes, they are. Or is airline is having a sort of dadagiri or arrogance or something. So it's high time now. Every time we have this, the DGCA, like what happened in 171, a crash of 171, same thing. DGCA people are asking left, right, center question to DGCA, right? I will, I know Captain Amit will agree with me, that when we investigate an aircraft accident investigation, we take the angle for the human error involved, because end of the day, it's 80% accident investigation in the world is because of the human error. So it's not the pilot or the human error. There's a very excellent classic tool called HFACS, Human Factor Analysis Classification System. This should be utilized now in this crisis to find out the organizational fault with the IndiGo, to find out the organizational fault with the DGCA, to find out what is the
Right.
operational control fault at the DGCA, at the IndiGo headquarters operation control center, OCC, what the air traffic controller did, on what all this finally which led to the cancellation of. I think there should be, this tool is an excellent tool to apply in investigation, which I feel should be applied here in the investigation to find out the exact cause of these cancellations.
Right. But Amit, coming to you, of course, it's a need of the hour to find out the exact reason of this crisis, why this crisis was precipitated, who allowed that. But no one is sure about the honest results of this investigation. How can we forget that the IndiGo owner has donated crores and crores of rupee to BJP as part of the donation? In fact, other airlines have also done it. So in this kind of a scenario, how can we and how is this honest investigation going to be done?
It's basically the culture, safety culture prevailing. So this is FPTL is one issue. If you look at Air India, recently one aircraft flew without a airworthiness review certificate for I think 6 or 8 flights, revenue flights, and a test flight. And I've seen that internal investigation report. They have admitted that it was a systemic fault. So they have softwares. And there are people who are communicating with each other. And DGCA is approving their processes. DGCA cannot be there everywhere. So DGCA comes in for an audit. DGCA approves and monitors their process. That is the process working? Are people talking? Are systems talking? Is everything working fine? So year on year, they keep approving. Everything is fine till something happens. Then a special audit is conducted. Then they start finding so many things, 50 odd findings. Why weren't they found in a normal audit routine manner? So our normal processes are not able to capture all these things. So that is why we need a special audit for that. So that is in safety, we have something called safety pyramid, in which the bottommost is pathological culture. In the pathological culture, basically, you will not do anything for safety until you're caught. So if you're caught jumping a red light, then you will say, okay, I will not jump the red light and I'll be more careful. But so long nobody is watching, you keep doing whatever you want. So that is the bottommost. And the topmost is generative safety culture, in which you yourself do things for your safety and safety of others. Nobody needs to tell you that this is the rule, you have to do things. So you're doing it yourself, self-governance. Corporates operate somewhere in between. They do more than the prescribed. But in India, the culture is you do bare minimum, that this is the DGCA rule, I will just comply with that. But safety has to be over and above, enhanced. In personal safety, we keep sufficient buffers. But in aviation, they say, I am just complying with the rule. That is it. I'm safe. So that is the kind of culture that is prevailing, that I will not do more than what is required for safety.
Yeah.
I'll do the bare minimum. So that is the kind of culture. So processes are audited, but still we find accidents happening because of those processes, those very processes. There was one a flying school accident which was being investigated, and in the report, the investigator has written that soon after the accident happened, the flying school was shut down. Flying was stopped. And immediately thereafter, there was a DGC audit. And he writes the purpose of the DGC audit was to reopen the flying school. So they quickly came in, they found a few odd things, and they say, you get this thing right, and you start flying, because they are losing revenue. So the investigator says the audit purpose was only to restart flying, not to find out the root cause. So that is the kind of culture which is prevailing. If something goes wrong, we will, just to show the public that we are doing, so we will do a lot of things. So that is what IndiGo was thinking, that a few flights will get cancelled. Okay, DGCA will conduct an inquiry. We will do the corrective measure and continue. So that is
Right.
what is happening.
All right. So, Captain Saurabh, I'll come to you towards the end. So, what is the way out? I mean, we've discussed all the possibilities. We need an honest investigation, an honest probe. We need to go by the rules. So, what would you really like to say towards the end now? And now the everyone even shudders to even think about the fact that now the holiday season will begin, and what will happen then? The fog
See,
will be at the peak.
sorry.
The crew shortage. Yeah.
No, the thing is the only solution, because we are seeing now this kinds of happening in DGCA. So the DGCA is the Director General himself. The post, it's an IS officer post. It has been said time and again by the pilot bodies, by the Alpine India, 5P, and all these things, that the top boss of the DGCA should be from the aviation background, not from the IS background, because then that is the first and foremost requirement. Because to implement, to enforce, the laws are there, every law, rule, everything is there, but to implement is what is the main requirement. And then if you have, like for example, the accident investigation team which was there for the crash of 171, there was no the subject matter expert which was appointed in the committee. So the culture has to change. What the safety culture is, it's not. DGCA has known earlier, Air India has to control the DGCA. We all know that whatever the Air India wanted, the DGCA was basically a sort of, it was Air India's extended thing. But now this has to change, and DGCA has to be more responsible and more enforceful to the airlines, whatever we have. And then we should have more airlines also. They should clear, like Ashank here in Air Kerala is in the waiting, but the AOP has not been granted. So I think they should quickly and have some more competition so that we can avoid these kinds of crises in future.
Yeah. So let's wait and watch how this crisis gets addressed, and will there be an honest investigation into this entire crisis because of IndiGo? We'll have to wait
Yeah.
and watch for that.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Captain Saurabh, and Amit
Thank
Singh.
you.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you.